Hello. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what Good Friday is. Good Friday is an important holiday is not quite the right word, but a time for us to remember every year. For those of you who are familiar with the Christian practice of taking communion, when we take the bread and the juice and we remember the last day that Jesus was with his disciples and he gave them the bread and the juice. Each time he did this, he said, every time you do this, do it and remember me. And really, Good Friday is the day, the biggest day, that we remember Jesus and what he did. What it was he was trying to tell his disciples was about to happen. And we remember who Jesus was and what he did. But let me start in that remembering, really back at the very beginning, when Jesus came to earth. One of the things we remember on Good Friday is that God cared about us so much that he didn't want to stay separate from us anymore. He wanted to become one of us and speak our language and walk in a body like we walk, to say to us that he is not far away and that he understands us as human beings. And it says this in John chapter 1, verse 14. It says, the Word, Jesus, became flesh, became a body, a human, and moved into our world. In one version of the Bible, it says he moved into our neighborhood. I love that image, that God moved into our neighborhood. He became one of us. And the second thing that we remember is that he walked among us and taught us what it meant to live as a follower of God. He left us so many teachings of how to live a life that we were meant to live, that we were created to live. And so we're to remember his teaching and the way that he lived his life. But the third thing that we are to remember is that God loved us so much that it says in John 3:16, he sent his son to give his life for us. You see, before this, God had set up a system of sacrifices, and that the way that we could find forgiveness and be connected with God again was to offer sacrifices of animals, of gifts all the time. And Jesus came, God in human form came, to be the one time for all the rest of time, sacrifice for all of the things that we have done wrong, all of the ways that we are not clean, that we are not perfect, all of the things that because we're not perfect separate us from a perfect, holy God. Jesus came, and his blood, his body, became our sacrifice. That is what Good Friday is, because Good Friday is the day that we remember that he died on the cross. It is perhaps the most significant historical event, right? It is the day that before all time before that, we were separated from God. But in this moment, in this time when Jesus died on the cross, and Good Friday's symbol really is the cross, the way that Jesus died, that he was nailed to that cross, and he became a sacrifice. Good Friday is the day that we remember that Jesus loved us so much he would do that. We also remember that Jesus did what he taught and what he said he would do. In fact, in John chapter 15, verse 13, just before he died, he told his followers, "No greater love does anyone have than one would give up his life for his friends." And he taught it, and then he did it. He died on a cross for us so that we could be called his friends, so that we could find a new way to live life. When he died, he made a new life. And so here in the past, we were separated from God. We would have to bring these animal sacrifices. We would have to do all of these rituals. And then Jesus died on the cross. And now for all of the future, from that point on, history for us, but all in the future, we can be a true follower of Jesus. We can live a new life. We can know peace in our mind, peace in our heart, peace in our relationships with others, because we follow that Jesus. We receive that gift of him being the sacrifice for us. That's what we do on Good Friday. We remember. Now, just a couple days later, we celebrate Resurrection Sunday. We celebrate that sacrifice of death did not leave Jesus dead. He showed that he was more powerful than death. He's more powerful than sin. He's more powerful than all of those things that separated us from God. And he showed that by coming back to life. So he paid the price, he sacrificed, and then he came back to life. And that's what we celebrate on Sunday. But on Friday, we remember that was not an easy thing. That God loved us so much that he would suffer and die. We remember the price that was paid. That Jesus loved us that much. We also remember that Jesus calls us to follow him. That we are to give our lives. That we are to crucify ourselves and become new and live a new life of following Jesus. A new life. We turn from the old way. We turn from our selfishness. We turn away from us being the center of our world, me, and I do everything for me. We turn now. We lay down that old life and we receive a new life in Jesus. And that Jesus said in that same passage where he said, we give up, that you give up your life for your friends. He says, that is the way to find real joy. We find joy in following Christ, in remaining in Christ, in walking in his way, in finding a life of love for God and for others, of putting aside the things we think will give us joy for Jesus, and listening to his voice. John 10, it says, I came to give you life to the fullest. So many people are looking for life to the fullest. And they think that if they just buy a new car or they get a new house, that then suddenly they will have joy. But that joy is always only for a short time, isn't it? And then we have to find more and more. But when we follow Jesus, when we actually lay down our lives, that is when we find true life. So on the day that we remember that Jesus died on the cross, we also remember that we choose to get on that cross with him and lay down our old life and start a new one. Friday is a time to remember all that Jesus that Jesus is calling us to in new life. I pray that you will see Jesus in a new way this Good Friday, that you will experience his forgiveness in a new way this Good Friday, that you'll take time to remember that all of this cost Jesus something. It will cost us something too. But in the end, we will rise again with Jesus. We will find new life. Remember, that is the meaning of Good Friday.